I think that the language we use is really important. And I also have found that a lot of people are in denial because they're scared or they don't have the frame of reference to it.
They're just scared or stupid. They're just scared or fucking stupid. I'm not gonna finish this thing out. I'm gonna let her finish this thought, and then I'm gonna be done because spent too much time on this dumb bitch. They're just scared or fucking stupid. They're too dumb. They need to be enlightened by us brilliant moralizing fucking hags who are miserable sitting in our goddamn ivory towers wondering why the slushy kid won't agree with us, wondering why that college student looked at us and called us a dumb thought when we talked about how bigoted it was that we couldn't just have giant gangbang orgies with our top 8 students or whatever. Like, wondering why all of this, like these stupid, pitiful fucking masses that just can't understand our enlightened and erudite positions. They're just scared and dumb. Really, if they just had the education, they would know. If they just listened to us, if they just been indoctrinated by us from K through 12, and then into undergrad, the 12 through 16 or 13 to 16, and then of course into their masters until they're 18 years of education, and then of course finishing out their doctorate, and 21 years into their education and indoctrination of and listening to us, then they would know. If they'd only paid for 21 years of education, which is then, of course, the sunk cost fallacy, saying if I'm paying this much, these people must be experts. They must have the key to life, and not realizing that all of them are underperforming, bitter faggots who can't sell a goddamn book without assigning it to a group of unwitting students. People who can't hold a regular job because they have a PhD and they're so goddamn educated that they couldn't run a cash register. How dare they? The cash register would, of course, be oppressing them. So what they need to do then is scramble and claw their way into tenure where they're immune from being fired from one of the 4 jobs in the country that they can actually hold because they're so goddamn smart. Even though there's 5,000 of them fighting over that same 4 jobs, this one happened to win. I mean, it has nothing to do with any sort of nepotism or connection or maybe showing their tits to somebody or their dick. I don't discriminate. None of that ever happened. It's all just on their own obvious merit that they've moved into this super position of authority and control and speaking into people's lives. Those people being, of course, too stupid until they encounter them, right?
Interpret what's going on. And that's where I can use my expertise. But they're not ready to hear certain things because of their kind of myth of it can't happen here, or America's always been a democracy. Whereas I come in.
America still isn't a democracy, you dumb bitch. Maybe you should become proficient in American history and know that we're a goddamn republic.
From a perspective of foreign history. And I'm like, from where I sit, this has only been a democracy since the 60s. What kind of democracy can it be when there's no civil rights for?
First of all, it's still not a democracy. Second of all, it was never designed to be one. But that is interesting, right? Like the 60s when progressivism tipped the scales. Very, very interesting.
Like a large part of the population. So I think speaking truth in a blunt way is over and over again, as you do, as others do, is so important to getting the message and starting to help others to wake up to what we face.
Well, Ruth, I thank you so much for your...
Oh, God, they're going to suck each other off for the next 10 minutes. All right. So you get the idea. Look, this is about, it's about just rewriting reality, right? We take a lexicon that exists. We rewrite the lexicon. We redo the definitions. We make reality what we want it to be. Then we assert that that reality is ideal and true according to the definitions that have always been there. Didn't you know? And then we foist it upon the unwitting, unwilling, the masses. And we tell them that it's our education that gives us this unique perspective. And it's always been this way. They just didn't understand. And the fact that they don't even know the words, look, that's evidence that you frankly are lucky to even be discussing that with us in the first place. Because if you were as smart as us, you would already know the words. You would already know the language. And the fact that you don't, I mean, like, it's not your fault that you didn't spend $130,000 getting a PhD in vagina touching, and by other vaginas exclusively. Like, you didn't do that, but I did. So I can tell you what the language is. And if you just adopt it, like, if you just recognize that I'm the expert and that, like, I'm just trying to help you. So if you'll just take my word for it and understand that I'm doing this for your benefit, like, I'm stepping down to your like, I really appreciate that you load up my Amazon trucks, you fucking servant. But if you'll just step down to my like, let me step down to your level for a minute and deliver this message of good vocabulary to you that you obviously missed. You should have probably gotten this in 3rd grade, but you probably went to a Republican school or whatever. So now that you have it, though, now that you have the new language and the redefined language, now you know. You can trust me because I paid for this. I studied for this. I'm hired. I'm tenured. I wrote a book. I wrote 2 books. This is how these people are. It's insane. But I'm going to say something. The redefinition of terms and the assertion that a thing has always been this way and always should have been this way or whatever. This is not relegated to liberal Democrats. This is a facet of anyone and everyone attempting to exert social control over anybody. Well, it's always been this way. It always should have been this way. And if you ever thought it was different, then that time was bad. This time is better. This time's right. That time's wrong. I'm right. We need to change it. Blah, 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 blah. This is not limited to politics or Democrats, but it is funny hearing it from Democrats now when they hold all of the power, talking about how they're the dissident rebels fighting against the plutocracy of power is unimaginably ironic.